They were the sounds, styles, and secrets that defined a generation, from the screech of dial-up internet to Friday nights wandering Blockbuster aisles. The 1990s weren't just a decade. They were a cultural revolution that changed how we lived, connected, and dreamed. But which of these forgotten icons still shape who we are today? And what does remembering them reveal about us now? The 1950s in America were a time of big change, bright colors, and new inventions. Families were moving into small houses with neat lawns. Kids rode bikes through quiet streets, and black and white TVs glowed in living rooms. Many things from that time are gone now, tucked away in memory. Let's walk back through 15 forgotten pieces of the 1950s and bring them to life again. 1. Drive-in theaters. Imagine a warm summer night, fireflies flickering, and a huge glowing screen rising above a sea of cars. Families sat in the front seat, windows rolled down, with popcorn in their laps. You could hear the faint crackle of voices coming from little metal speakers clipped to car doors. Today, most of those big outdoor screens are gone, leaving behind empty lots and silence. 2. Soda fountains inside drugstores. Tall stools lined the counters, and behind them stood shiny machines mixing syrup and fizz. Kids ordered root beer floats or a cherry cola for a nickel. The air smelled of sugar and vanilla ice cream, and the clink of glass cups echoed like music. Now, soda fountains have been replaced by plastic bottles and vending machines. 3. Poodle skirts. Girls in high school twirled in big felt skirts with little poodle shapes stitched on the side. When they spun on the dance floor, the skirts lifted like soft waves. Paired with saddle shoes and bright scarves, they made every school dance feel like a movie scene. Today, those skirts mostly live in costume shops. 4. Sock hops in the gym. Sneakers squeaked against the wooden floor as teenagers danced to rock and roll. A record player spun 45s while kids clapped and shouted. They called it a sock hop because you often had to take off your shoes to protect the gym floor. Those simple nights of music and laughter have faded with time. 5. Black and white TVs. The glow was soft and gray, and you had to twist the knobs just right to keep the picture steady. Families gathered close, adjusting the rabbit ear antennas when the screen went fuzzy. Shows like I Love Lucy and The Honeymooners filled homes with laughter. Now, giant flat screens make those small boxes feel like antiques. 6. Jukeboxes. Step into a diner and see a tall, shiny jukebox glowing in the corner. Drop in a coin, press a button, and hear Elvis Presley or Little Richard fill the air. The lights blinked with every song, and kids crowded around to pick their favorites. Today, the jukebox has been replaced by streaming apps with endless choices. 7. Milk delivery. Before supermarkets took over, glass bottles of milk waited by the front door each morning. You could hear the rattle of bottles in the milkman's crate as he moved down the street. The milk was cold, creamy, and fresh, delivered right to your doorstep. That sound has disappeared, along with the glass bottles. Payphones. On every street corner stood a metal box with a black phone inside. For a dime, you could call home and your voice echoed slightly as you spoke. Rain often streaked the glass booth and gum wrappers stuck to the floor. With cell phones in every pocket today, payphones have all but vanished. 9. Hula hoops. Children in backyards spun colorful plastic hoops around their waists until they tumbled with laughter. The hoops clattered on sidewalks, and neighbors watched friendly contests to see who could keep them spinning longest. For a while it felt like everyone had one. Today, hula hoops sit in forgotten corners of toy aisles. 10. Record players. The needle touched the vinyl disc, and a warm crackle filled the room. Music played with a deep, rich sound that made you feel close to the band. Teenagers stacked records on the turntable, swapping songs at parties. Most kids today have never touched a spinning 45. 11. Homemade ice cream makers. Families poured cream and sugar into heavy metal tubs, packed ice around the sides, and took turns cranking a handle. Slowly, the mixture turned thick and sweet. Kids licked the paddle clean, their tongues frozen and happy. Now ice cream usually comes from factory cartons. 12. Car hoods with fins on the road. Shiny cars gleamed in the sun with giant chrome fins that looked like airplane wings. They seemed to fly more than roll, painted in bright reds and soft blues. Neighbors admired them as if they were artwork. Today's cars look plain beside those flashy machines. 13. Drive-in diners. Roller skating waitresses slid up to your car window, balancing trays of burgers and milkshakes. Neon signs buzzed above, and music played through outdoor speakers. The smell of grilled onions hung in the night air. Fast food today feels dull compared to that magic. 14. Rotary phones. To make a call, you placed your finger into a number hole and spun the dial until it clicked. The phone's ring was loud and sharp, and its heavy cord twisted into knots. Every call felt important. Now phones fit in pockets and answer to a swipe. 15. Sunday family dinners. On Sundays, families gathered around big wooden tables for roast chicken, mashed potatoes, and fresh bread. The room filled with chatter, laughter, and the clink of forks against plates. It was a time to slow down and be together. Today, many families eat on the go, with fast food bags instead of home cooking. The 1950s are far behind us, but when we bring these forgotten things to life, we can still hear the sounds, see the colors, and feel the warmth of that simpler time. The middle years of the 1990s felt like the decade had fully found its voice. The noise of the early grunge movement was still echoing, but something bigger was happening. The culture was now loud, bright, and everywhere. Technology was no longer just for offices or science labs. It was spilling into homes, backpacks, and even bedrooms. The whole country seemed to pulse with new inventions, new shows, and new ways of being young in America. Cell phones were the first sign of change. At the start, they were giant bricks that weighed close to 2 pounds and came with long, stiff antennas. The voice quality was crackly, and sometimes the call dropped after just a minute. Yet people carried them like trophies, holding them up high in public so others could see. By the middle of the decade, the phones became a little smaller, slipping into leather holsters at the belts of businessmen. Seeing someone talk on the street without a cord felt like seeing a person from the future. Video games were another world of wonder. At living room sleepovers, friends gathered in front of glowing screens as the Nintendo 64 hummed to life. The sound of Mario Kart drifting through the air became the heartbeat of many childhood weekends. Controllers with cords spread across the carpet like vines, and cheers rose when someone won a race or discovered a secret path. Then came the PlayStation, with smooth gray discs that looked sleeker than the chunky game cartridges. The graphics felt sharper, more real, and children's mouths dropped open the first time they saw a cutscene that looked like a movie. It was more than fun. It was a step into a digital world that was just beginning. Entertainment ruled the airwaves in the 90s. Sitcoms became the common language of households. Friends poured out of living rooms every Thursday night, as kids stayed up past bedtime to hear the jokes of Ross and Rachel. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air made families laugh while also opening small windows into deeper stories about family and struggle. The theme songs from these shows stuck in heads like glue, sung in classrooms and shouted at bus stops. Even today, just a few words can bring those songs rushing back like it was yesterday. Movies reached their own golden height. Jurassic Park stunned audiences with dinosaurs that moved as if they had returned from extinction. People left the theaters whispering that they had truly seen something impossible. Then came Titanic, with lines curling around blocks as people returned again and again to cry, to cheer, and to sit in awe at the sinking ship. By the time The Matrix arrived at the end of the decade, audiences were already questioning reality itself. The movies of the 90s were not just stories. They were events, moments that stitched themselves into the memory of everyone who watched. Youth culture reached its peak in malls across the country. The smell of buttery pretzels drifted from food courts, mixing with the sharp scent of nail polish at Claire's jewelry store. Teenagers walked in packs, giggling as they flipped through racks of glittery tops, plastic chokers, and platform sandals. At magazine stands, covers of 17 or Teen Beach shouted about crushes, quizzes, and pop stars. The glossy pages became guides for who to be, what to wear, and how to talk. Every weekend, the mall was less about buying and more about belonging. Portable identity grew in smaller ways too. Tamagotchis beeped from backpacks, tiny digital pets demanding food and care. The sound of that high-pitched chirp could interrupt a whole class, sending kids digging through bags in a panic. Walkmans, and later Discmen blasted music into ears, cords dangling out of hoodies, a private soundtrack for every hallway walk. It was the first time kids carried whole pieces of culture with them wherever they went. Television itself was splitting apart. MTV's Total Request Live turned afternoons into countdown battles, with Carson Daly standing before a screaming crowd in Times Square. Cable TV exploded into dozens of new channels, each carving out special places for different tastes. You could flip from Nickelodeon slime shows to Cartoon Network classics to endless reruns on Comedy Central. The screen was no longer just a box in the corner. It was a doorway into countless worlds. The peak of the 90s was noisy, colorful, and alive. Everything seemed bigger than life. From the glowing malls to the crowded movie theaters, from the flashing screens of game consoles to the high-pitched rings of cell phones, culture was everywhere and it was shared. Looking back, you can almost feel the sticky movie theater floors under your shoes, hear the crackle of the game cartridge as it slid into place, or taste the sweetness of an orange Julius sipped between stores. It was more than entertainment or fashion. It was the shaping of a whole generation, kids and teens finding themselves inside a storm of sound, color, and change. The late 1990s felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, looking out at something new and unknown. The world had been busy with games, malls, and music, but now a wave of change was rushing in. That wave was digital, and it would not be stopped. At first it seemed small, like a whisper in the background, but soon the sound grew louder, and it filled homes, classrooms, and every corner of life. People did not yet know how much their world would change, but they could feel something big was happening. The internet was the spark. At first, connecting was slow, almost painful. The sound of a dial-up modem was like a strange song, full of high-pitched screeches and long robotic beeps. You would wait, holding your breath, hoping the connection worked. If someone picked up the house phone, the whole thing crashed and you had to start over. But when it worked, the feeling was magic. A glowing screen became a doorway into a place that was both endless and mysterious. Kids typed their names into chat rooms, laughing at strange handles and asking the same 3 letters as L, short for age, sex, location. No one knew who was on the other side, and that made it thrilling, and sometimes scary. Websites popped up like new cities, messy but exciting. Bright colors, flashing GIFs, and loud MIDI songs greeted every visitor. Kids made their own GeoCities or Angelfire pages, decorating them with sparkly text and blinking stars. It was clumsy, slow, and often confusing, but it felt like building your own corner of the future. Even if only a handful of people ever saw your page, it gave you a strange kind of pride, as if you had carved your initials into the tree of time. Music was the next piece to change. Napster arrived, and suddenly the world of songs felt free. No more waiting for the radio to play your favorite track or saving money for a CD. With a few clicks, you could have hundreds of songs sitting on your computer. It was like opening a treasure chest. The sound of those stolen MP3 files was sometimes fuzzy, but kids did not care. For the first time, music was no longer trapped in a store. It flowed like water, fast and endless, and the record companies could feel their power slipping away. Communication changed too. Instant messaging became the heartbeat of late nights. The ding of a message arriving felt electric, like a knock on the door of your soul. AOL Instant Messenger, MSN, and Yahoo gave kids secret spaces to talk long after parents thought they were asleep. Screen names became masks, full of numbers, inside jokes, or favorite bands. The glow of the monitor lit up faces in dark bedrooms, as conversations stretched on for hours. Sometimes the moment someone signed off left a strange emptiness, like the room itself had gone cold. At the same time, entertainment was shifting. DVDs arrived, shiny and thin, replacing the bulky VHS tapes that filled shelves. The picture was sharp, and the menus felt futuristic, as if the movie itself had become a living thing. Video games went online, connecting players across towns, states, and even countries. For the first time, you were not just playing against your brother in the next room. You were battling someone in another world, someone you might never meet. It was thrilling, and a little frightening, to realize that the screen was no longer a wall. It was a bridge. Yet with all this excitement came fear. The year 2000 loomed like a storm cloud. People whispered about E2K, the strange idea that computers might fail when the clocks ticked over from 1999 to 2000. Would planes fall from the sky? Would banks lose all their money? Would power plants shut down in the middle of the night? Some families stocked up on water, batteries and canned food, bracing for disaster. Others laughed it off, sure it was only hype. Still, as December 31st, 1999 arrived, millions of people sat near their TVs, hearts racing, waiting to see if the lights would go out. When midnight passed, and the world kept running, the tension melted into laughter and relief. Fireworks lit up the sky, and people danced in the streets. The computers had survived, and life moved forward. But even in that moment, it was clear that something had shifted forever. The internet, the MP3C, the instant messages, the glowing DVDs, they were not just toys or tools, they were signs of a new age. The line between the old world and the digital future had been crossed. The late 90s were not just an ending. They were a door swinging open. Behind that door waited a century that would run on wires, screens, and invisible signals. Kids who stayed up late typing on glowing screens did not yet know it, but they were the first citizens of a brand new world. The 1990s did not simply end when the clocks turned to the year 2000. They kept echoing, like a song you cannot get out of your head. Even today, you can still hear those echoes in the way we dress, the way we listen to music, the way we talk to each other through glowing screens. The decade feels like a time capsule, but it is not sealed shut. It is open, spilling its colors, its sounds, and its lessons into our world now. Looking back, you see how much of what we call normal life today was born in those years, shaped by the inventions, the culture, and the dreams of a generation that thought the future was waiting just around the corner. The technology of the 1990s laid the foundation for everything that followed. That screeching dial-up tone, so slow and clumsy, was the ancestor of the blazing Wi-Fi signals we use today. The chat rooms with their crude text became the blueprint for social media sites where billions now gather every day. The chunky cell phones with long antennas transformed, shrinking and growing smarter, until they became the sleek devices we cannot let go of. Every scroll, every swipe, every video call we make today has its roots in the wonder and awkward beginnings of that decade. When you hold a smartphone in your hand now, you are holding the dream of the 90s made real. The music of the 1990s still beats through our culture. Grunge may not top the charts anymore, but its spirit of raw honesty lives on in every band that picks up a guitar and dares to shout about pain and truth. Boy bands and pop princesses of that era taught the music industry how to build global stars, and the pattern has not faded. Every K-pop group that fills stadiums today, every pop idol who trends across the world, follows a road first paved by the polished harmonies of Backstreet Boys and the bold beats of Britney Spears. Even the way we share music has not changed as much as it seems. Napster opened the gate, and now streaming flows freely. But the core idea is the same: songs belong to everyone, everywhere, all the time. Fashion too keeps circling back. Walk down a city street and you will see echoes of the 1990s in oversized jeans, flannel shirts, and platform shoes stomping against sidewalks. What once felt like rebellion has become retro chic. The thrift stores that brim with baggy jackets and neon windbreakers now buzz with young people who were not even alive when those clothes first ruled the malls. Nostalgia has turned the 1990s into a living style book, and every few years a new wave of its look returns. The past is not gone. It is stitched into the seams of our present. Television and movies from that decade also hold power. The laughter of Friends still runs on screens around the world, a comfort for people who were not even born when the show first aired. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air lives on in reruns, memes, and even remakes that bring the story into today's world. The blockbusters of the 90s, with their dinosaurs, sinking ships, and bending realities, showed Hollywood how to build spectacles that were not just movies but cultural earthquakes. Every superhero film that dominates theaters now, every global franchise that spans toys, games, and theme parks, follows the formula perfected in the 90s. Even the simple rituals of the decade still hold us. When someone says Blockbuster night, people smile, even if the stores are gone. The memory of walking through glowing aisles holding a warm pizza box and rushing home to pop in a VHS tape still stirs a sweet ache. That is the power of nostalgia. It turns everyday moments into golden treasures, and those treasures fuel what some call the nostalgia economy. Companies re-release old video games, bring back vintage soda flavors, and sell shirts with 90s logos because they know the memories are valuable. We buy not just the object but the feeling, the spark of who we were. The 1990s also reshaped society itself. Youth culture became louder, more independent, more global. Kids carried their music, their digital pets, their private chats, and in doing so they carried pieces of identity everywhere. That idea has only grown. Until now, entire lives can be lived online. But it all began with those small steps, those clunky devices, and those first digital whispers. The decade showed us that culture was no longer something we only consumed. It was something we could carry, shape, and share. Looking back, there is also a lesson in the way the 1990s balanced excitement with worry. The Y2K scare reminds us that every leap forward comes with fear. People were both thrilled and nervous about what the new millennium would bring. That feeling has never left. Today, as we face questions about artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and the power of global networks, we echo the same nervous thrill of the 90s. The past was not just about floppy disks and roller rinks. It was about learning to step forward even when the future felt uncertain. In the end, the 1990s were not just another decade. They were a bridge between the old world of paper, cords, and face-to-face talks, and the new world of screens, signals, and endless connection. The bridge is behind us now, but we still walk on the road it led us to. When you remember the taste of a mall pretzel, the glow of a Saturday morning cartoon, or the sound of a modem buzzing awake, you are not just remembering the past, you are feeling the roots of the present. The 1990s live on in every swipe, every laugh track, every retro style that resurfaces. They shaped the way we see, the way we play, and the way we dream. And maybe the real gift of that decade is this: it taught us to believe that the future could fit in our hands, even when we had no idea what it would look like.